The alien girl found me in space, but her world broke me. The cosmic castaway. Commander Vesper Casimir winced as another alert blared through the cockpit of her scout ship, the Nebula Sprite. The holographic display pulsed an angry crimson, projecting warning symbols that danced across her vision. System failure imminent. Quantum stabilizers offline. Emergency protocols advised, chimed the ship's AI in a voice far too pleasant for the dire situation. Define imminent, pulse, Vesper muttered, her fingers flying across the control panel. She'd navigated asteroid fields and survived ion storms, but this was different. The Nebula Sprite had suddenly lost power while charting the outer rim of the Andromeda Helix, a region notorious for spatial anomalies. The answer came as a violent shudder rippled through the vessel. The stars outside her viewport elongated into brilliant streaks as the ship lurched into an uncontrolled descent toward a planet that seemed to appear from nowhere, a glowing orb of turquoise and silver luminescence. "Well, that's certainly imminent," Vesper said through gritted teeth. "Pulse, give me something to work with here." Calculating survival probability, 58.7%, the AI responded. Planet designation, unknown. Atmosphere, compatible with human physiology but with high concentrations of particulate luminite. "At least I won't suffocate," Vesper muttered as she manually deployed emergency thrusters, fighting to control what was quickly becoming an elaborate coffin. Her training at the Galactic Exploration Corps hadn't prepared her for this, being pulled toward an uncharted world by what felt like more than just gravity. The Nebula Sprite carved through the atmosphere like a meteor, systems failing in cascading sequence. The ship screamed in protest, hull plating superheating as she guided it toward what appeared to be a clearing among forests of crystalline structures that sparkled like diamonds under alien light. The impact was jarring. The Nebula Sprite slammed into the surface, skidding nearly a kilometer before coming to rest against a formation of luminous crystal spires. Silence followed the cacophony of the crash, broken only by the gentle hiss of cooling metal and the ping of the emergency beacon activating. Vesper's consciousness returned slowly, her head throbbing. She unclipped her harness with trembling fingers and stumbled to the emergency kit. A quick medical scan revealed bruised ribs and a minor concussion, but nothing life-threatening. Small mercies, as her grandfather would say. The air quality monitor on her suit indicated the atmosphere was breathable, though tinged with particles unknown to her ship's database. She gathered essential survival gear before forcing open the escape hatch. The landscape that greeted her stole her breath away. The sky was a perpetual twilight of turquoise and silver, stars visible despite the ambient light. Crystalline forests sprawled across rolling hills, each formation pulsing with gentle internal light. The air tasted sweet with a hint of electricity, like the aftermath of a summer storm. Standard protocol, Vesper reminded herself. Establish perimeter, assess resources, activate long-range beacon. Her voice steadied her, a reminder of training and duty despite the otherworldly beauty surrounding her. She had just begun setting up her portable scanner when she felt it, not a sound or movement, but a sensation like being observed, a presence that registered on some primal level of awareness. "Hello," she called, one hand moving to her pulse pistol. "I come in peace. My ship crashed and I'm just trying to." "You are not where you should be," came a voice from behind her, melodious and deep, with an accent that seemed to shift between syllables like water flowing over stones. Vesper spun around, weapon half-drawn, to find herself face-to-face with a tall humanoid figure. His skin was luminous silver blue, like moonlight captured beneath translucent crystal. His features were angular yet harmonious, with eyes that resembled polished opals, swirling with colors that shouldn't exist together. Long silver hair drifted around his face as if suspended in water, though there was only the gentlest breeze. "I wouldn't say lost," Vesper replied, not lowering her weapon. temporarily misplaced. The figure's head tilted slightly, an almost avian gesture. Your vessel is broken beyond conventional repair. The crash damaged the quantum matrix irreparably. You can tell that from here. I can sense the disruption in energy patterns. He moved closer, each step deliberate, his clothing shifting with his movements, a material that seemed to be made of light itself rather than fabric. This world is called Zenovia, and you are very far from your familiar stars, Earthborn. Vesper frowned. How do you know I'm from Earth? Your genetic signature echoes through the luminite in the air. It is distinctive. He stopped at a respectful distance. There have been others who fell from the stars, though none in a very long time. I'm Commander Vesper Casimir, Galactic Exploration Corps. She finally lowered her weapon, judgment overriding caution. If he meant harm, he'd had ample opportunity. You speak my language perfectly. A smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I speak the language of thought more than words. I am Terk, keeper of the last light. Others have crashed here. Where are they now? Terk gestured toward a path that wound between the crystal formations. Gone. The dark cycle approaches. The thermal shift will be uncomfortable for your physiology. Follow me. Vesper hesitated, glancing back at her damaged ship. Protocol dictated she remain with the vessel, but something about this place, about him, pulled at her curiosity. My emergency beacon will continue its work, she said, making her decision. But it will be many rotations before anyone hears it this far into the Andromeda Helix. The realization hit her hard. The Andromeda Helix was uncharted territory. If that's where she'd ended up, rescue could be months or years away, if it came at all. Very well, she said, gathering her survival pack. Lead on, Terk. The path illuminated beneath his feet as he walked, crystals brightening in response to his proximity. Vesper followed, scanner in hand, recording everything they passed, structures that appeared to be buildings, vast organic-looking constructions that merged seamlessly with the crystalline landscape. Your city, she asked. What remains of it? Terk paused, looking back at her with those opalescent eyes. I am the last. The simple statement carried such profound loneliness that Vesper physically felt it like a pressure against her chest. I'm sorry. It was long ago, he continued walking. The Stardust Keepers have been fatting for millennia. They traveled in silence until they reached what appeared to be a dwelling carved into the face of a massive crystal outcropping. Inside, the space was surprisingly warm and comfortable, illuminated by bioluminescence that seemed to respond to Terk's presence. You may rest here, Terk said, gesturing to a recessed area filled with something that resembled cushions made of condensed light. The resonance chambers will maintain a temperature suitable for your species. Vesper set down her pack, exhaustion suddenly washing over her. Thank you for your hospitality. Not many would welcome a stranger who fell from the sky. When you are the last of your kind, Terk replied quietly, you learn to recognize the value of unexpected encounters. Over the next several days, Vesper established a routine. During the light cycles, she would work on repairing what she could of her ship's communication systems. Though Terk's assessment had been correct, the quantum matrix was beyond salvation. In the evenings, she would return to the crystal dwelling, where Terk would share stories of Zenovia's history. She learned that the Stardust Keepers were once a thriving civilization, masters of crystalline technology that harnessed the power of stars. They had been peaceful explorers, mapping the cosmos and collecting knowledge. But a cosmic event, a supernova too close to their system, had altered the planet's composition, slowly making it toxic to their kind. They left, Terk explained one evening as they sat beneath a canopy of glowing crystal fronds. Seeking new worlds, I remained as keeper to preserve what knowledge we had gathered. For thousands of years, Vesper asked, incredulous, how is that possible? Terk's eyes shifted colors from opal to something deeper. Time moves differently for my kind. And this planet sustains me, though it also slowly transforms me. Vesper found herself increasingly drawn to Terk. There was something mesmerizing about his otherworldly grace, his ancient wisdom paired with childlike curiosity about her adventures among the stars. He asked endless questions about Earth, about human customs and beliefs. On the seventh day, as Zenovia's twin moons aligned in a rare celestial event, Terk led Vesper to a clearing atop a crystal plateau. "This is the echoing chamber," he said, his voice hushed with reverence, "the heart of what we were." The plateau was a perfect circle of crystal that seemed to capture and amplify the moonlight, creating patterns that danced across the surface like living things. "It's beautiful," Vesper whispered. "Place your hand here." Terk guided her palm to the center of the plateau. "Listen." As her skin contacted the crystal, Vesper gasped. Music, if it could be called that, flowed through her, a symphony of light and emotion that bypassed her ears and resonated directly with her consciousness. She saw stars being born, civilizations rising and falling, the grand dance of galaxies across eons. "What is this?" she asked, tears streaming down her face without her realizing. "The memories of my people," Terk said, his hand joining hers on the crystal. "Their hopes, their dreams, their journey across the cosmos." Their fingers intertwined, and Vesper felt something impossible, a connection that transcended species, language, even physical form. In that moment, she understood Terk in ways words could never capture. His loneliness echoed her own, a commander always separate from her crew by rank and responsibility. As the moons reached their zenith, the crystal beneath their hands pulsed with blinding light. Vesper felt a strange sensation, as if her very atoms were resonating with the crystal, with Terk, with the planet itself. Then pain searing, unexpected, ripped through her. She collapsed, the world spinning around her. "Vesper," Terk's voice seemed distant, distorted. "The resonance, your human physiology can't withstand it. I didn't know." Darkness closed in as Vesper felt herself being lifted, cradled against a chest that hummed with the music of stars. "Hold on, Starchild," Terk's voice whispered in her mind. "I will not lose you too." The last thing Vesper saw before consciousness fled was Terk's eyes, no longer opalescent, but blazing with something ancient and powerful. They had begun to glow with the fire of a dying star. Echoes across the stars. Vesper awakened to the gentle hum of crystalline resonance. Her body felt weightless, suspended in a cocoon of shimmering light that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. Above her, Terk's face was etched with concern, his opalescent eyes scanning her with an intensity that made her skin tingle. "You're awake," he said, relief evident in his melodious voice. "For a time, I feared the resonance had caused irreparable damage to your cellular structure." Vesper tried to sit up, only to discover her limbs felt strangely disconnected, as if she were floating in zero gravity. "What happened?" "The echoing chamber. The resonance was too powerful for your human physiology," Terk explained, helping her into a seated position. The light cocoon adjusted around her, supporting her body. "Your atoms began to destabilize, drawn to the crystalline frequency. I had to intervene." "Intervene how?" Vesper asked, noticing a subtle change in her vision. Colors seemed more vivid, edges more defined, as if she were seeing the spectrum beyond what human eyes could typically perceive. Terk hesitated, his luminous hair drifting in invisible currents. "I shared my essence with you, merged our energies temporarily to stabilize your form." He looked away, almost embarrassed. "It is a profound connection among my kind, not typically shared with others." Vesper felt warmth rising to her cheeks. The Galactic Exploration Corps had strict protocols about intimate contact with non-terrestrial sentience, but nothing in the manual covered having your atoms stabilized by the last member of an ancient crystalline species. "Thank you for saving my life," she said simply. "It was necessary," Terk replied, though something in his tone suggested it had been more than mere necessity. But there are complications. Complications. Terk guided her to a pool of liquid crystal at the center of the chamber. See for yourself. Vesper gasped at her reflection. Her skin now held a subtle luminescence, and her eyes, once a simple hazel, now contained flecks of opalescent light that shifted with her emotions. More startling was the faint network of crystalline patterns just beneath her skin, like luminous veins carrying light instead of blood. "I'm changing," she whispered. "The luminite in Zenovia's atmosphere was already affecting you," Terk explained. "My intervention accelerated the process. You are becoming something between our worlds." "Is it permanent?" "I don't know. No human has survived the resonance before." Vesper's training kicked in: assess, adapt, overcome. "Tell me everything. What you are, what's happening to me, what happens next." Terk guided her through the crystal dwelling to a chamber she hadn't seen before. A vast spherical space, where the walls were covered in complex crystalline patterns that seemed to shift and flow like living mathematics. "My people, the Stardust Keepers, were not always as you see me," he began, his voice taking on the cadence of a storyteller. "We evolved from energy beings who coalesced into physical form millennia ago. The crystals of Zenovia, what you call luminite, allowed us to maintain a balance between matter and energy." He touched a crystal formation, and it flared to life, projecting images of beings of pure light gradually taking humanoid form. "The supernova that poisoned our world disrupted that balance. Most of my kind chose to revert to energy form and travel to distant stars. I remained as keeper, anchored to physical form by my duty to preserve our knowledge." "But you're dying," Vesper realized, seeing the truth in the way his form occasionally flickered, like a hologram with failing power. "Yes, the last of the stabilizing crystals is failing. In perhaps one Zenovian cycle, equivalent to your Earth year, I will lose cohesion and disperse." The thought brought an unexpected ache to Vesper's chest. In the short time she'd known Terk, he had become more than just an alien host. He was a kindred spirit, isolated by circumstance and duty. "The technology in your ship," Terk continued, "contains elements that could potentially stabilize the crystal matrix. With modifications, it might restore balance to Zenovia." "But without my ship's quantum drive, I'm stranded here," Vesper said, understanding the implicit choice. "Yes." They stood in silence, the weight of unspoken possibilities hanging between them. "Show me what needs to be done," Vesper finally said. If she was already changing, perhaps there was a third option neither of them had considered. Over the next several weeks, they worked together to salvage components from the nebula sprite. Vesper found her new physiology had advantages. She could now sense energy patterns as Terk did, could manipulate the luminite with growing skill. Their hands often touched as they worked, each contact sending cascades of light and sensation between them. "You're a quick learner," Terk observed as Vesper successfully aligned a crystal array with a salvaged power coupling. "Good teacher," she replied with a smile that sent ripples of color across his silvery skin. They grew closer as they worked, sharing stories of their vastly different lives. Vesper told him of Earth's oceans and forests, of human music and art. Terk shared memories spanning millennia, civilizations he'd observed through Zenovia's long-range sensors, cosmic events he'd witnessed firsthand. At night, when Zenovia's twin moons bathed the crystal forests in silver light, they would sit beneath the stars, their shoulders touching, and Vesper would feel that impossible connection growing stronger. Sometimes, when their fingers intertwined, she could sense his thoughts, not words but emotions, images, the vast loneliness of centuries and the unexpected joy of her arrival. "I never expected this," she confessed one night, her new eyes reflecting the starlight. "When I joined the Corps, I thought exploration would be about charting stars, cataloging planets, not finding connection." The universe has patterns we cannot predict, Terk replied, his hand gentle against her cheek. Stars collide, galaxies merge. Perhaps we are no different. Their first kiss tasted of stardust and possibility, a meeting of worlds never meant to touch, but finding harmony nonetheless. Light danced between them, their energies intermingling in ways both physical and beyond physical understanding. But their fragile happiness was threatened when Zenovia's weather patterns began to destabilize. Massive energy storms swept across the crystal forests, shattering ancient formations. The planet's core, long destabilized by the ancient supernova radiation, was entering a final stage of decay. "We have weeks, not months," Terk announced grimly as they surveyed the damage after a particularly violent storm. "The core will collapse, taking Zenovia with it." "Can we accelerate our work on the stabilization matrix?" Vesper asked. "It won't be enough. The damage is too extensive." Terk's form flickered momentarily, a sign of his own fading stability. "But there may be another way, the ancestral vault." He led her deep beneath the crystal city, to chambers untouched for thousands of years. There, in a sanctuary of ancient technology, stood a ship unlike any Vesper had seen, a vessel made entirely of crystalline structures, elegant and organic in design. "The last starship of my people," Terk explained. "Left behind when physical travel became too difficult for them. It was meant for emergencies, such as this." Hope flared in Vesper's chest. "Can it fly?" "It requires a pilot with both physical form and energy manipulation abilities. I am too far gone in my transformation back to energy. But you, Vesper, your hybrid nature might allow you to interface with the ship systems." The next days were spent in frantic preparation. The storms grew worse, shattering more of the crystal city. Terk's form became increasingly unstable, requiring periods of rest in a crystalline regeneration chamber. Vesper learned the basics of piloting the ancient vessel, her hybrid physiology allowing her to connect with its consciousness. On the eve of their planned departure, as they made final preparations, the most violent storm yet struck without warning. The crystal spire housing the city's power core began to collapse. "The core will cascade," Terk shouted over the howling energies. "If it destabilizes completely, the reaction will destroy everything." He rushed toward the failing spire, his body already shifting between solid and energy states. "Terk, no," Vesper cried, sensing his intent. "I can contain it long enough for you to escape," he called back. "The ship is ready, you must go." "Not without you," Vesper pursued him, her new abilities allowing her to navigate the chaos of shattered crystal and surging energy. She reached him as he pressed his hands against the failing core, his body absorbing the destabilizing energies. Pain was evident in every line of his form as he fought to contain the cascade reaction. "Please," he gasped, his voice distorting as his physical form began to disintegrate. "I have lived millennia. You have barely begun." "We'll find a way," Vesper insisted, placing her hands alongside his on the crystal core. Her hybrid nature allowed her to channel some of the energy, easing his burden. Together. Their eyes met, understanding passing between them without words. Vesper had never believed in destiny or cosmic coincidence, but in that moment, she knew with absolute certainty that their meeting had been written in the stars. "The ship," Terk said, his voice barely audible over the roar of energies. "It can contain a consciousness within its crystal matrix." Understanding dawned. "You want me to transfer your consciousness into the ship?" "It's the only way. My physical form is already lost, but my essence, what I truly am, could survive within the ship systems." Vesper felt tears tracking down her cheeks, glowing with bioluminescence. "Do it." With his remaining strength, Terk pressed his forehead to hers. Images flooded her mind, instructions, coordinates, the complex process of consciousness transfer. And beneath it all, emotions too profound for words, gratitude, hope, and something that transcended human concepts of love. "Go," he whispered, his form now barely visible, a silhouette of light against the chaotic energies. "I will find you among the stars." Vesper ran for the ship, her heart breaking with each step away from him. Behind her, the crystal spire glowed with blinding intensity as Terek's consciousness merged with the core, stabilizing it long enough for her escape. The ancient vessel responded to her touch, systems activating as she placed her hands on the crystalline control interface. The ship rose from its millennia-long rest, piercing through the collapsing chambers toward the turquoise sky. As Zenobia receded below her, Vesper saw the final flash as the crystal city collapsed, Terek's last act of protection giving her the chance to escape the planet's death throes. "Navigation systems online," came a voice from the ship's consciousness, melodious and deep, with an accent that shifted between syllables like water flowing over stones. "Terek," Vesper whispered, hope and disbelief warring within her. The crystalline panels pulsed with gentle light. "Not as I was, but, yes, part of me survived the transfer." Joy surged through Vesper, sending ripples of light across her luminescent skin. "Where shall we go?" "The coordinates are set for the celestial confluence, a region where my people believed new stars are born. It seems appropriate for a new beginning." As the ship accelerated toward the stars, Vesper placed her hand on the crystalline console, feeling the familiar resonance of Terek's consciousness responding to her touch. "When you are the last of your kind," she said, echoing his words from their first meeting, "you learn to recognize the value of unexpected encounters." The ship hummed in response, a sound like musical laughter. "Perhaps we are not the last anymore. Perhaps we are the first of something new." Together, the woman who was becoming more than human and the consciousness that had once been the last Stardust Keeper sailed into the uncharted depths of the cosmos. Two beings from worlds apart, finding harmony in the endless symphony of stars. Light years behind them, in the cosmic dust that had once been Zenovia, particles of luminite began to coalesce, dancing in patterns too complex to be random. The cycle of creation continuing, sparked by the merging of two very different kinds of stardust. From endings, beginnings, from loss, discovery, from solitude, connection. The universe continued its grand design, indifferent to the small miracles it created, like an alien and a human finding each other across the vastness of space, creating something the cosmos had never seen before. Something beautiful, something new, something that would echo across the stars for ages to come.